ॐ श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवत् व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्तिः। So last class we studied Panchikaranam, a very important topic to understand in our Shastram. The Shastram, when we study the Upanishad, it takes it for granted that we understand Panchikaranam. Upanishad never talks about Panchikaranam because it is considered basic. So here the author has taken time to explain in a very cryptic manner, for us not knowing Sanskritam that much. We saw that just in a couple of sentences he explained what took us one class to understand. A simple concept anyway. So that's the model. So what was already introduced long ago, because when he asked the question, Sthula Shariram Kim, and there he mentioned, so I think he said there, Panchikrita Panchamahabhutaih Kritam Satkarma Janyam. So there he introduced the word Panchikritam, but we didn't explain because it was coming later, correct? So that Panchikaranam is this Panchikaranam. Okay. So let us chant this couple of lines here. Okay. So Mahesh, if you can unmute yourself. So we are going to chant this 2.15 etebhyah. Okay. Etebhyah Panchikrita Panchamahabhutebhyah Sthula Shariram Bhavati Evam Pinda Brahmandayoho Aikyam
Aikyam.
Sambhutam.
Sambodham.
Yeah. So, having described this Panchikaranam, so if you recall those four, the so-called Srishti, divided into four stages, if you will. First one was Sukshma Mahabhuta Srishtihi. Then it is Sukshma Bhautika Srishtihi. Then it was Sukshma correct. Sukshma Bhautika Srishti, then Sthula Bhuta Srishti, Sthula Bhautika Srishti. These four are there, correct? So Sukshma, first one, Sukshma Bhuta Srishti is what? Tataha Akasha Sambhutaha. So from that Brahmashraya Trigunatmika Maya Asti, that is where he started with, right? So he set up right there, the first sentence he set up, there is Maya which is dependent on Brahman, Maya which is not independent of Brahma, which has three qualities and which is there. That is how he started. Then Tataha Akasha Sambhutaha. So Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, that is Sukshma Bhuta Srishti. Subtle elements, the fundamental elements, also called Mahabhutaha. They say great elements, etc. Some translations are given. So great here means the fundamental elements that make up this universe in this model. Then what? Then Sukshma Bhautika Srishti. Then these Pancha Mahabhutaha, they combine. Like compounds formed from elements, carbon, oxygen, etc. Like that they combine. Sukshma, still subtle, not visible. So there we saw these Pancha Jnanendriyani, 5 sense organs. Then he talked about this Antakaranani, correct? Manaha, Ahankara, Antakaranani. What was it? So we saw that. Mano, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chittani. Chittani was not there. Mano, Buddhi, Ahankara. Okay. Chittaha, Antakaranani, Sambhutani. So from the Sattvika aspect of these Pancha Mahabhutas, you get these two groups. One is 5 sense organs and the other was mind, buddhi, etc. Sattvika aspect of these Pancha Mahabhuta. Because these Pancha Mahabhutas have these 3 aspects, as was already said, Trigunatmika Maya. So the qualities that are there in the cause will be there in the effect, will be there in the product. That's the idea. Then having the Sattvika completed, then Rajas. So the Rajas aspect of these 5 elements then created what? This Pancha Karmendriyani, the organs of action. You know, these vocal cords, voice apparatus, that one is an organ of action which produces, it's coming out of this Sharira and going to the external world. So organ of action, hands, legs, etc. We saw that before. So that group created by Rajas. Because Rajas action, some dynamism, needs some energy output. So Rajas aspect we can appreciate creates this 5 organs of action. And Pancha Pranaha, he also said that. Samashti Rajasamshat, Etesham Panchatattvanam Samashti Rajasamshat Pranaha, Pancha Pranaha Sambhutaha, if you recall. So the physiological functions. Because these functions have to keep moving. When they stop, we have a problem. When the blood pressure goes down, we have a problem. When they say blood is anemic, we have a problem. When they say the circulation is not good, we have a problem. So our Ayurvedic physicians are very good at identifying these things. Correct? Because the Ayurveda also is based on this model. And so they will use their language based on based on this. So physiological functions also a result of the rajas aspect of the Panchabhutas. Then tamas. So by now the second phase is over, second stage is over. What is the second stage? Sukshma Bhautika Srishti. Entering the third stage, which is Sthula Bhuta Srishti. Sthula Bhuta Srishti. Correct? So that is where the Panchikaranam comes. Panchikaranam. So the Sthula Bhuta, Sthula Akasha, this gross space, the grossness comes into these Mahabhutas. The same subtle Mahabhutas combined and they get grossified like the process, through the process we learned last time. Each element divided by 2 and then the half divided by 4, etc., etc. We saw that. So what comes out of that is the Sthula Akasha, Sthula Vayuhu, Sthula Agnihi, Sthula Apaha, and Sthula Prithvi. That is the third stage of the Srishti Prakriya, which is Sthula Bhuta Srishti. Then last stage we are entering now. Last stage we are entering, and that is called this Sthula Bhautika Srishti. So these Sthula Bhutas now combine to create this gross universe. And that is what was said here. Etebhyaha Panchikrita Pancha Mahabhutebhyaha Sthula Shariram Bhavati. So he introduced Sthula Shariram Bhavati. Bhavati happens, gets created, gets manifested. What gets manifested? Sthula Shariram Bhavati. Sthula Shariram, this physical body that we are all very aware of, that body gets created. Okay, so which Sthula Shariram we described before, we saw before, Panchikrita Panchamahabhuta Kritam Satkarma Janyam Sukha Dukkha Bhogayatanam Ityadi, we saw that before. That is that Sthula Shariram, that physical body. And so now you've got the Sthula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram already there. Sukshma means Sukshma Shariram there. And both are needed for this body to function. So Sthula Shariram is like hardware. What like hardware? It's hardware. Let's call it hardware. Let's use a word that is there in vogue, which we can appreciate. So you got hardware and then Sukshma Shariram, software. Software cannot be seen with the eyes. Even though there are a lot of software scientists and people writing code, and even I have written a lot of code long ago, still the actual software that is there on the computer cannot be seen. Very interesting. So much code is there, so much of compiling is there, so much of these days they're writing code in all the cell phones and everything, and chips and all they embed. These days when I talk to young people, they say all these things. No, I write this code and then they send it to the satellite or something like that. They do all kinds of stuff. So software, you can see the satellite, you can see the chip, but you can't see what is there in the chip. Amazing. So many gigabytes of data is there in this flash drive. So hardware, software, Sthula, Sukshma. So without Sthula, for this body to function, Sukshma Shariram is needed. Without the Sukshma Shariram, the Sthula will be called a corpse. Dead. So, dead. Very interesting. When the person was alive 5 minutes ago, we called him, hey, wake up, can you hear me? Look, he's not responding. Look, he's responding, we say. After the person is passed away, we say he has passed away. And then after an hour, we start saying it. Can you, I don't know if you've been through these kinds of processes. We need to take it. Not him. He was him. How come him became it? Suddenly. because that him apparently doesn't apply to this person. It's now a body, not a living being. So without the Sukshma, body is corpse. And Sukshma without Sthula, I don't know whether we have seen such a thing or not. They say ghost and spirit and things like that. So by that we understand that, okay, here is a spirit, something you can't see. And they say, I heard some voices in the night, and if you go to this place, you hear some things. So apparently the assumption is they are able to express themselves in some way, specifically to certain people, but can't see them. Sthula Sharira are not there. So these two are there. And now, so therefore, this sentient, insentient. So dead means insentient, and all other objects in this world which don't have life, like stone, etc., insentient, we say sentient. From the standpoint of this model, there is not much difference between these two, because both are Panchabhutani. Both are this Panchabhuta or Panchabhutika. So therefore the Shastram doesn't, it appreciates that only the human being can listen to the Shastram and can appreciate the Shastram. The stone cannot. But fundamentally there is not much difference. Why is not much difference? Both are Panchabhutani. And then both are Panchabhutani. And then Panchabhutas are nothing but Brahmashraya Maya. Mayayaha. Mayataha Panchabhutani Praptani. From Maya all this came. Therefore, and Maya itself is Brahmashraya. So everything is Brahman. So standpoint. It's very important to understand, because if I ask you to define sentiency, living means what? Then you are going to tell me some things. And you might say, human being, the heart has to beat, you might say. You will give you so many words to describe what a living being is. But then, if I ask you, is this idea of living being independent of this idea of non-living being? Idea of sentiency, independent, is it independent of this idea of insentiency? I hope you guys have thought about these things before. We talked about it a little bit. So, what's amazing is that these two ideas are not independent. You cannot appreciate sentiency unless you appreciate insentiency. And you cannot appreciate insentiency unless you understand a little bit of what sentiency is. Both ideas have to come up, and each helps the other. Both are there in our understanding. Okay. And that's amazing. That also tells us that this idea of independence of things is also a make-believe. Make-believe. So other example we gave the other day was this colors also. Black versus white. You cannot understand black if you already don't have an idea of white. And you can't understand the color white unless you understand darkness. You cannot. It's absolutely amazing, because we all think they're all independent. This is a white shirt. Yes, it's a white shirt. Even a child is able to say this is white. What are you talking? But for the child to understand this takes a while, takes a long while. And once it sees all these things, only if it compares black and white, then only you can say, see, this is white, see, that is black. You have to show both, only then the child can appreciate. With one thing, it can't appreciate. If there is only one color, then there is no color, of course. So, very, very interesting in this idea, in this so-called epistemology, appreciating things and knowledge and so forth. This is a very interesting concept, which actually points to Vedanta. Okay, so Brahman is there in and through. Based on this model, we can see. And so, somewhere in Swamiji's book I had read, therefore Ishvara sleeps in a stone, we can say. Ishvara stands in a tree, and Ishvara walks in a cow, and Ishvara talks in Tom. Something like that. So, all pervasive Brahma, and so Ishvara is all pervasive. So, this insentient, sentient, if you say, we will only say, okay, insentient means absence of Sukshma Shariram, not absence of consciousness. Okay. So, I don't know what physics says in these matters, but there can be a very popular notion that consciousness is not there in a stone. So, we don't ask any Hindu whether they studied Vedanta or not, whether they have heard of Bhagavad Gita or not, how many Vedas are there, he may or may not know. But the fellow will not agree with all these ideas. You tell him, there is no consciousness in the stone. And he will say, Kya sab Ishwar hai, tu kya baat karta hai? He will say. So, that is to be noted here. And so grossified, some are grossified, some are not, some have Sukshma Sharira, some don't. And therefore, that is what distinguishes sentiency from insentiency. And now, he mentions Sthula Shariram as the first step in this Sthula Bhautika Srishti. And then he suddenly jumps to Evam Pinda Brahmandayor Aikyam Sambhutam. So Aikyam, he is going to talk about this Aikyam. Aikyam means equality, equation. And so he doesn't talk about this world. He doesn't use the word, use Jagat. And what about this body has been talked about? What about this world? And so we have to assume, we have to add world here. Sthula Shariram Sambhutam, Jagat Sambhutam. The world is manifest. We have to add the world. Because the body is just a microcosm, the world is a macrocosm. The body can be created, which is gross. The world also gross and subtle created. That we must make a note here. So, evam, okay, let's translate this sentence. Etebhyah panchikrita pancha mahabhutebhyah sthula shariram bhavati. From these 5 elements, or you can say 5 fundamental elements, which have undergone grossification, from these 5 elements which have undergone grossification, within brackets panchikaranam, comma, the gross body is formed. The gross body is formed. So you can add, the universe is formed. Because at this point, this creation idea is over. He is no longer going to talk about it. Completed here. Sthula Bhautika Srishti, the 4th stage of the so-called creation or manifestation is over here. And then he says, Evam Pinda Brahmandayor Aikyam Sambhutam. Sambhutam happened or established or is born. What is born? Aikyam is born. Aikyam Sambhutam. The equation, the similarity, the non-separateness, the non-difference is born. Identity, you can use some of these words. Identity is born. What kind of identity is born? Pinda Brahmandayoho Aikyam. The identity between Pinda and Brahmanda. That is the meaning. So what is Pindam? Here he uses the word Pindam to refer to this body. this human body, this body which is so dear to me, which I take as myself, that I is refers to as Pindam. And Anda, he uses the word Anda or Brahmanda. These are very commonly used in our Shastram to refer to the entire cosmos, entire universe. You don't have to know how many galaxies are there in the universe and all that. It doesn't matter. If you know it, that is fine. If you don't know it also, it is fine. It is called Brahmanda. Everything that you can imagine and you can't imagine, everything that you know and don't know comes under Brahmanda. So, Pinda Brahmanda Yoho Aikyam Sambhutam. And we have seen now why identity? Because all are Panchabhutas. The same Panchabhuta pervades into the human body and into the universe. Therefore, identity. Nothing other than the Panchabhuta. And the Panchabhutas being caused by Maya, and the Maya having that Trigunatmika, three gunas, and Maya being independent of or not independent of Brahma. Maya being Brahma, entire Jagat is Brahma, Sthula Shariram is Brahma, Sthula Prapancha. So now I'm going to use the word Prapancha. Prapancha means this cosmos. Pancha, the word Pancha is there in this word, clearly indicating that it refers to this model of Panchabhuta. So Sthula Prapancha is Panchabhut, is Brahma, Sthula Shariram is Brahma. Therefore, Pinda Brahmandayor Aikyam Sambhutam. So therefore, Tat Tvamasi, if the Shastram says, Tvam refers to me or I, the Jiva, who has taken oneself to be separate from the entire world. And so that Tvam, Tat is the world, Tat is Ishvara. Because I've taken myself to be Ishvara also. How can I be God? We say, we worship God. That shows I am different from you, from God. I am of course different from this world. And so, Tat Tvam Asi, Shastram has to come and remind us that you both are not identical. You are, not different. The equation is there between Tvam, the Jiva, and Tat, this world, Ishvara. So now we can appreciate why the author here has stopped with Stula Shariram Bhavati and didn't mention the word Prapancha Jagat in this creation. Because when we talk about this world, often we exclude ourselves from the world. We exclude ourselves, is it not? I am the observer of the world. And we get carried away by this world and I exclude myself. Is it not? And science, see, I don't say science is making a mistake or anything. Who am I to say that? Science is a wonderful subject, wonderful area. But because of the way it looks at things, science excludes the observer and makes some objective statements about this world. And we have all kinds of wonderful subjects, sciences. It's all great. But the self is excluded. Even in so-called medicine and anatomy, zoology, all this medicine is there, which goes into a lot of detail about how this body functions, how the mind functions. So even there, the mind is objectified and the I is excluded. I is excluded. So it seems, I don't know if I told this to you. Just a few months back, I got a message in WhatsApp, somebody sent. So the patient asked the doctor, "Doctor, what happens? What happens after a person dies?" And the doctor said, "We take the body away, we clean up the room and give the room to somebody else." So that's all the doctor can say. What else can he say? He or she say. So don't know about this I, etc. We don't know much. So that is the reason Sthula Shariram is mentioned specifically, hey, I am part of this Jagat, and don't exclude yourself when you talk about this world. Okay. So in one small statement, he just says, Evam. He actually doesn't say, he just says, therefore. Evam means therefore or thus. Thus, thus the identity between the world and the jiva is established. This is what he's saying. Nothing to prove here. The proof is in the discussion we've had all the way. Okay. So based on the model, the identity is established. So let us see how we've translated this. In this manner, evam, in this manner, comma, the identity between the microcosm, or within brackets individual, which is what pindam means. Identity between microcosm, namely individual, and macrocosm, within brackets cosmos, is born. So I will admit, this words cosmos, universe, I used, and they use the word cosmos. I'm assuming here the word cosmos, for our purposes, refers to the same as the universe. I don't know if there is whether physicists consider these to be different, or there is some subtle difference between these two. I am not assuming any difference between these two words. Okay. So maybe in the satsang we can hear from others. So universe, cosmos, world, all this thing is same to me in this discussion. I mean, world, sometimes when we say world, we refer to earth. But if that is the case, let's just say universe. Okay. So now let's go to the next statement he's making. So Mohini, go ahead and unmute yourself. Him, you can also unmute yourself later. Okay. Sthula sharirabhimani.
Sthula sharirabhimani.
Jivanamakam.
Jivanamakam.
Brahma Pratibimbam.
Brahma Pratibimbam.
Bhavati.
Bhavati.
Sa eva.
Sa eva.
Jivaha.
Jivaha.
Prakritya.
Prakritya.
Swasmat.
Tasmat.
Swasmat.
Swasmat.
Ishwaram.
Ishwaram.
Bhinnatvena janati.
Bhinnatvena janati.
Yeah. You can remain unmuted and also go and unmute yourself. So now we are entering the section which you can, if we have a title, we can say, here he says Jiveshwara Aikyam. Jiveshwara Aikyam. So identity between Jiva and Ishvara. That is the section we are entering. So here Swami Paramarthananda ji gives a nice way of appreciating this model. And so Brahma, everything is Brahma, we say. Yet we say Brahma is Nirgunam. Brahma has no attributes. And from that, all attributes have come. This variegated world has come. This multifaceted universe is appearing in front of us. And even our body, of course, is so complicated. How did this happen? This model tells us that. Now, Swamiji tells us how to appreciate it. He says, just like there is the sun, visualize the sun. The sunlight is there, and in the presence of the sunlight, all actions take place. Okay, and he's going to explain this further. And like this, the sun rises and the light is spread all over the world, all over Earth and other planets. And the light reflects also on water bodies, on any object that can reflect light. On the surface of cars, vehicles, it reflects. It reflects, these tall buildings these days, they are all covered with glass and light reflects on that. And light is there everywhere during the daytime and the sun is visible to us. And he says, and then there are objects which do not reflect light, do not have the capacity to reflect light. And they don't. Therefore, if that is the case, they cannot reveal themselves by when light falls on them. So dark objects, for example, they can't reflect, and they are visible to us only because the surrounding area is visible to us. It's so interesting. See, I'll show you something. And this is fascinating. This is what is the color of this object?
Black.
It is black. It is black. Actually speaking, if I ask you, are you seeing this object? The real answer, if you ask him, he will tell you, this is the only object you're not seeing. You're seeing everything else around it. The light is falling on your eyes. From this background, there is some light falling and some color you identify. And color from this one falls on your eyes. And really speaking, the hair and all that, I think it just doesn't reflect light. This doesn't reflect light. And you make an assumption. I think we need to look into this. This is the first time I'm thinking like this. We are making an inference, I think. This is fascinating. Without seeing this object, you're saying, I'm seeing a telephone. Okay? This is fascinating. And so the sun reflects, and so this object does not reflect light. Like that, Swamiji says, consciousness also gets reflected by some objects, does not get reflected by some objects. Just an idea, using the idea of reflection. Because the author here uses the word pratibimbam. Pratibimbam. Pratibimbam means reflection. That is why Swamiji is giving this example. And we won't take this meaning literally. We will see why. But when consciousness gets reflected, then that object becomes or appears sentient. Okay. So our human body appears sentient because it reflects, as it were, consciousness, reflects Chaitanyam. And so wherever there's a tree is there, reflects consciousness in a particular way. And we say the tree is live. Okay, that's the example Swamiji has given. And so there is Brahma Chaitanyam, and it gets reflected. There is Karana Shariram, there is Sukshma Shariram, there is Sthula Shariram in this body. Then there is Karana Prapancha, means cosmos. Look at the macrocosm. There is Sukshma Prapancha, there is Sthula Prapancha. Because the entire creation has happened now. The macrocosm also you may need to look at. All these 6 entities are there, and these are the reflecting media. And then these get reflected, and the consciousness is reflected on these shariras, on these prapanchas. And just like Surya Pratibhimbam, just like the sun's light is reflected on objects, there is the Pratibhimbam, the so-called reflection of Brahma in these entities. Now, what are the attributes of this process if we look at it? So, in any reflection, when something is reflected on a pond of water, I see a tree, the reflection of a tree. The water surface reflects the original light falls on it, and then the reflected light is perceived by me. So the light I see on the water is really reflected light, not the original light. That is number 1. Number 2, the surface of water becomes bright, shines, or the surface of the mirror shines. So that's number 2. Then the reflected light also is able to illuminate anything. A mirror outside can illuminate the room here. And I don't know if you've seen this. So in the shooting and all that, during movie shooting time, they have all this big reflecting surfaces. I don't know if you've seen that. They carry around like this, because they are apparently reflecting whatever sunlight is there. Just throw it on the face of these actors, and that is not. The actors don't like that, I'm sure, because so much light is falling on the face. But that ability is there. Even that reflected light, even though it's reflected, it has the ability to illumine. And of course, that light which illumines is borrowed light, which is not the original light. These are some of the observations we can make of any reflection. Same thing applies here also. And now, so this reflecting material is there. What are the reflecting materials? Karana Shariram, Sukshma Shariram, Sthula Shariram, Karana Prapancha, Sukshma Prapancha, and Sthula Prapancha. Those are all reflecting mediums, as it were, and then gets reflected, each of them reflect. And if we call them as reflected Chaitanyam, reflected consciousness, Karana Shariram, reflected. And the Shastram gives a name for each of those reflected beings, if you want to say. We saw it before. Prajnaha, Prajnaha, iti uchyate. When the definition of Karana Sharira was discussed, he used the word Prajnaha. So, Chaitanyam reflected in Karana Shariram is called Prajnaha. Sthula Shariram, Chaitanyam reflected is called Taijasaha. Karana Shariram, Sukshma Shariram called Taijasaha, and Sthula Shariram called Vishvaha. And likewise, Karana Prapancha and called Antaryami. And then Hiranya Garbhaha, reflected from the Sukshma Prapancha, and then Sthula Prapancha, this entire physical universe. Sthula is physical, and the physical universe is called what? Virat. So we will see these words when we study Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita and all. Virat will come. So then the physical aspect of the universe is called Virat. The subtle aspect of the universe is called Hiranyagarbha. And the causal aspect, Karana Sharira, of this world is called Antaryami. Okay. Now go back to the Shariram, Karana Shariram, Sukshma Shariram, and Sthula Shariram. Referring to this body. These three together are called Jiva or Jivatma. Often we use the word Jivatma or Jiva. And so this Prajnaha, Taijasaha, and Vishwaha, which are nothing but the consciousness manifest and appearing in this body, is called Jiva. Technically speaking, it's called Jiva. And what about this Antaryami, Hiranyagarbha, and Virat? Called Ishvaraha or Paramatma. Ishvaraha. Because Ishvara is the whole. And so we use Shastram uses the word Ishvaraha for this reflected consciousness reflected in the universe. It's called Ishvaraha. Now we will talk a little bit about the reflection once again, but this is what is to be understood here. And we must appreciate that just like the reflected light is not the original light, as it were, this reflected consciousness is not the original. And so if you ask the nature and what is the nature and what is the size of this reflection, then obviously it depends on the reflecting medium. So if the mirror is good but it's covered with soot and dirt, then the reflection is only going to be so good. And you have to look through and you have to move your face in order to properly see your own face on this mirror. And dull mirror, dull reflection. And likewise, this Jivatma, when this Chaitanya Pratibimbam in this body, the body being what it is, when we compare it to the other bodies, the world, etc., the body being what it is limited. It is limited. So we are very aware of the limitations of the body. So we saw Bhagavan, we saw what the Bhaga stands for. Stands for 6 qualities. So Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Viryam Yashashasriyaha Jnana Vairagyayos Chaiva Bhaga Itirana. So to list the 6 qualities, what are the Aishwaryam? Aishwaryam means some kind of greatness or lordship. Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Viryam, strength, Yashas, fame, Shriyaha, resources, wealth. Then Jnanam, which is knowledge, and Vairagyam, which is dispassion. These 6 qualities, when available in full measure, unlimited measure, this one says Bhaga Itirana. Bhaga, and the one who has Bhaga is called Bhagavan. This we saw long ago. Very long ago. I don't know, I lost track of when we started this course. And some people have got bored and maybe dropped away also. I'm not keeping track of all that. But I remember we did this probably a year ago or something like that. So, but what about this Jiva? Jiva also has those qualities. But little bit. Alpajna. Little bit knowledge is there. I claim credit to that knowledge. How much knowledge I have? Okay, I've tried to put that down in my resume, and you look at my resume, you can know how much knowledge I have. Okay. And then Alpa Viryam, Alpa Vairagyam, etc. are there. So Alpa. So the reflecting medium being limited, what reflects also will be limited. And that's the nature of the jiva. But fortunately, the jiva knows enough to appreciate, just needs to know enough to appreciate this Pinda Brahmandayor Aikyam. Correct? Limited. But an alternate model, alternate view, it has the capacity to appreciate. So we are happy about that. And so that is jiva. Then what about this prapancha, this Ishvara? So full measure, this Jagat. And I can't even control my body's movements. And backache is there, joints are crackling. And the doctor says this and that. Every time I go to the doctor, the list is increasing. And I'm losing control of this body. But out there, the planets seem to be moving just fine. And in their own orbits. And everything is working pakka. And seems to be no issues at all. And so Paramatma, everything is in order. Everything works as envisioned. And so that is the cosmos. And so if the reflecting medium is capable, then you get what is called Ishvara, Paramatma. You get this world. And so therefore, the more the quote unquote, the more superior the reflecting medium, the better the qualities that are reflected, the better the qualities that are manifest. And so we say the minute you say qualities, we are attributing qualities to this body, we are attributing capacities to this body, we are attributing qualities to this world, we are attributing qualities to the Ishvara. This jiva is called Nikrishta Gunaha. Nikrishta means inferior, limited. Nikrishta Gunaha. And the Ishvara will be called what? Utkrishta Gunaha. Utkrishta Gunaha means superior. Whatever you want is there in unlimited measure. Utkrishta Gunaha. But Brahman is what? Utkrishta Gunaha or Nikrishta Gunaha? Nirguna. Nirguna. Poor Brahman. It is neither here nor there. Poor thing. So Brahman is Nirguna. Simply looking around. It doesn't even look, I think. Because then looking will become an action. And so Brahma, Nirgunam. Only Nirgunam can have the capacity to make things appear like this. This is what is fascinating about this, about our view of the world and of Ishvara and of ourselves. So if we have a dialogue with us and Krishna, and some dialogue, and we can say, hey, if we remove this reflecting medium, then you are Atma. And if I remove the reflecting medium from me, I am nothing but Atma. You are Atma, I am also Atma. No difference at all. That is the identity. That is the Aikyam here. Okay. So now there is this Thula Sharirabhimani, etc. He is talking. And so Abhimani, see, let's read that sentence. Sthula Sharira Abhimani, Jiva Namakam, Brahma Pratibimbam Bhavati. Okay. Sthula Sharira Abhimani Bhavati. That is the main sentence. Bhavati is, what is Sthula Sharira Abhimani Bhavati? This and Jiva Namakam. This entity called Jiva is the Sthula Sharira Abhimani. Abhimani, the one who identifies, is called Abhimani. Abhimanaha asya asti iti Abhimani. This body is there. I am this body. Thus far I go. Beyond that I don't go. I don't exist beyond that. This is me. I'm very clear about who I am. That's far I go. Until the bottom of the foot to the top here I go. So this hair also I say it is my hair. Beyond that there is no I at all. This identification is called Abhimana, and this identification with this Sthula Shariram, the one who identifies with that Sthula Shariram is called Sthula Sharira Abhimani. Now, if you ask who identifies, well, this Jiva, the person who identifies like this is the Jiva. This is the way they put it. Jiva Namakam, that person you can call Jiva, which we saw as this one, the Prajnaha, Taijasaha and Vishwaha, technically speaking. So that person identifies with this body. And so this person says, I am this body, that Jiva. And then Brahma Pratibimbam Bhavati. So really speaking, this Jiva is neither the Sukshma Shariram, nor the Sthula Shariram, nor the Karana Shariram. Really speaking. But it's a conscious being. Conscious being. The one who observes, the one who is actually a witness to this Sthula Shariram. Because I can look at this body. I say this is the body. So there is something that is bigger than this body, that is more subtle than this body. And so that conscious being. Why conscious being? Because this mind reflects consciousness. Mind has the capacity to manifest this consciousness in a way to be able to objectify the entire world, which is what we say conscious. And when the mind is conscious, what happens? It has the ability to have this I sense, this sense of I. Sense of I. Now, if you look at how children grow when they are very young, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. If you carefully watch how they grow and how we refer to them, it is obvious, all of you know, parents definitely know this. The child does not have an I sense. In the early stages, it doesn't have the I sense. And it's hungry, it drinks milk, it eats food, and then it goes around. And it points to objects and says, I want this, I want that, apple, this, that, it talks about, and it eats whatever. But it doesn't have the sense of this isolated entity called I. Correct? You pay attention, you will notice that. And so the parents will say, this is just 6 months, 8 months. And he's being called, hey, Vikram, look who has come. And then Vikram looks and then smiles. And then the mother will ask later on, what does Vikram want now? Look what Vikram did. So like that, remember the language, see this language. Because this you and I, the child can't understand that well. You means that shows that word you is a loaded word. It takes a while to appreciate what this you is and what I, to say I did this, To say I am hungry, there must be an I sense. I sense. Very important. We take it for granted. But we'll talk a little more about this in the next class. And this child does not have the I sense. It takes a while for the child to realize, oh, this I am, this body, and whenever this body aches, I'm in pain and I have to go to the doctor, and this child, one of the friends' granddaughter, she's so sick. She has this disease. It seems the thyroid gland is not there. This child does not have a thyroid gland. So, my God, they are monitoring this baby for thyroid function. Every month it has to get pricked and blood has to be taken out, and there is a constantly for this child, there is this, what do you call that? Some Venplan or Venflon or something they talk.
IV access. They have an intravenous access.
IV access. Correct. Exactly. So now this child, whoever comes, the child is afraid because it is thinking that they are going to do something to its body. They're going to poke it. This is what the child thinks. Poor thing. And so all these experiences make us, or gives us this idea that I am only so much. Correct? Otherwise, the child will not know. Child has no idea at all. The entire world is just there, and I'm there. In fact, I'm there, and things happen, and things will happen. And if things happen the way I want, in fact, things should happen the way I want. Correct? And the child is shocked when the mother says, no, you can't take that. And that is expensive. And the child doesn't understand what is this expensive business. The child has no idea of all these things. So anyway, so this idea of I is there, and he will talk about this later on also in the next 2 or 3 sentences it comes. So we will stop with that. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Okay. So